Hey, this is Tracy with Color Me This. We are now at episode 7. I owe you guys the Metallics Castle Arts, but in the meantime, something amazing happened. I'm not the person that ever gets a good deal, or maybe an okay deal, but I never get a screaming deal. And I went to the Dollar Tree, no, the Dollar Tree. Hub was with me. He didn't bring his phone. He never goes into the Dollar Tree. I was there for one thing. And while I was there, I went down I guess I would call it the office supplies aisle. On the way to the crafting aisle, after picking up the item that I needed to get for Hub, and I saw on the right this pack of colored pencils that you see here, bunches of them on the wall. Everything in the Dollar Tree is $1.25 now. It used to be $1, thus the name Dollar Tree. Hub and I think you should rename it to the $1.25 tree. So I grabbed one of these, ended up going to the crafting aisle, found some other good deals. Didn't think too much about these pencils, but I can tell you that I have bought every set of pencils at the Dollar Tree and like Dollar General and Walmart that I can get my hands on that are the inexpensive ones. And this was the largest set that I had ever seen. Normally you get like 6, 8, or 12. At the most, 12. So this 50 was pretty exciting. I had done no research on Prang. The only very economical student grade pencils that I own are the Crayolas. I have the Twistables and a 50 and a 100. The 100 I've not even swatched, but I did have swatched the 50. So I got home with this one set. I do have a goal in mind for this new community that we're in that is a very large community. It's an RV resort in Florida, so in the wintertime it gets really busy. It has like the high season. And I would like to have a coloring group. That it would be nice if we could meet year round. Maybe we meet every other week. And I'd like to help addict more people to colored pencil drawing and coloring. So that is my mission. And the main stopping point for this, when I kick this off in the fall, is I didn't have a good starting set of pencils for people to use that weren't going to break my bank. I will still charge a small amount for them to come and use all of my supplies. I have like all of the other supplies like the paper and coloring downloads, free downloads for people to go ahead and I can copy them off for them to play with. But I'm trying to like formulate a curriculum and bang, here are these prangs. Didn't even mean that to rhyme, but it did. So I did some research and it seems like most of the YouTubers who are doing the economical pencils who end up comparing, say, a Crayola and a Prang, the Prang wins. So I was optimistic, cautiously optimistic, and did a quick swatch. I'll show you my swatch. I grabbed Strathmore Bristol Vellum because I figured that these needed some tooth, and I quickly that night whipped out this swatch. And my previous candidate, I'm going away for a second, was the Staplers, which I've talked about, the Stapler 48s that I got, but they were $12, $12.77 at Walmart. And I could not find them to buy another set of them. And they actually colored on the Bristol Vellum very, very nicely. And comparing the two sets, I believe that the Staedtler is a better set. But given that I can't find them and that they were $12.77 versus Prang, which was $1.25. For somebody to just experience colored pencil coloring, I think that these will give a pretty decent experience. Get them, if they're at all inclined to coloring, using these will at least get them interested in trying more, which is my goal, is to get more people coloring. So I went back the next day and I felt so fortunate. As I was going down the aisle, somebody was talking them up, and I had already gone online. You can buy items from the Dollar Tree by the case if you buy them online, and they will deliver them to your local store. So keep that in mind if you ever see something that you want, either for a project, for crafting, for like a craft fair, that the prices are good enough that if you wanted a case of whatever that is, you can go online and see if they have it. These were not available, so these are not something that I can get repeatedly. So I went ahead and bought 15 of them, not including my personal set. And I am going to share with you all of my experimentation, what the papers look like. I have now swatched these on 4 papers so that I understand how they work, because they aren't a pencil that will look fabulous on the wrong paper. They just are not, they don't have enough pigment to do that. So I would like to share what I have done after my wonderful find. One thing I like about these is they do have, you can see here, a 3.3 millimeter core. So they have some really good things going for them. I wouldn't say, for most of the people coming here to see my videos, you guys are probably not candidates for praying. But if you know somebody, either a child or an adult, who you just don't want to put a big commitment in, but you want to help them out, you want to get them something to get started, the prangs are actually pretty reasonable online. Like on Amazon, they're around $5, $5.95-ish. And I have seen them, you can buy them in more of a bulk pack on a variety of sites for I've seen them no cheaper than $2.50 per 50 set, and they do have bigger sets. So let's look at the pencils really quick. My clientele that would be coloring do need something that's easily read. There are elderly people here. You know, this is an RV resort, so you get people who are here for the winter. And I find that these are pretty legible and the names are very simple. There are no numbers, but I'm okay with that. The biggest thing was I'd like it to be legible. Ironically, all of my professional pencils are not what I would consider friendly to somebody who might have elderly eyes. I am moving the bag with more of the praying, so sorry about the rustling. All right, so let's look at some swatching. After I got my find, came home, was so excited, I was working on swatching. And the very first thing I wanted to know is, how good are these on a smooth cardstock? I have smooth and super smooth in the Nina. I also have basic white. So I started with smooth. I didn't want to use, these are not intended to be used by me for making cards or in that side of my craftiness. They are intended for students coloring images, coloring pages. They could do some stamping and could use them if they wanted to. So I started with smooth. What I use for my card crafting is super smooth Nina and basic white. Both are equally smooth. They really do ink up well for stamped images, which is why I use the super smooth over the smooth. I noticed right off the bat when I compared the Strathmore 300 pigmentation to the smooth that I lost some of the vibrancy when I went with the smooth. So that was not, this is a fairly expensive paper also, by the way. It's like a ream is $48 because most people who use this are crafters. So $48 for a ream, and I want to be able to copy off images for people to color and do lessons on. So I had already purchased another Bristol vellum that's Nina. It's 67 pound, and it ironically has 2 sides. The Strathmore vellum feels the same to me. They're very loose bumps. You know, you can see the tooth here, but the tooth is the same on both sides. Whereas I bought for $10.76, I believe. I bought this Bristol vellum that has a definitive smooth side as well as a very bumpy side that's even bumpier than the Strathmore vellum bumps. So here's the smooth. In fact, I started the smooth and I didn't feel I was getting everything out of the pigment. But definitely, if you do comparisons down the line, look at the pumpkin on the Nina Smooth versus the Bristol Vellum Smooth side. We've got some more vibrancy here in the reds, and then right here with this purple, you've got a big difference. Going to the blues, they're kind of further apart. But I see more pigmentation like Moonlight Blue, the second one down. That is way more vibrant than on the smooth cover copy. So that again is the smooth side of the Bristol Vellum. These run 4 cents a sheet. And, or a whole ream, 250 sheets for $10. So it's 1/4 the cost of the Nina cover copy. So I was pretty pleased with that. And then just for fun, I stopped about one row through. I was done with the smooth side, and then I started the second row on the rough side. So let's see if we see a difference here. I'm in a different light. Ironically, this orange one, this one is more vibrant. This pumpkin is more vibrant than the pumpkin on the rough. But so there's behavior differences, because then when you come down here to the reds, they are, and maybe I tried harder, I'm not sure. I still see some workable white that I could use a blender and get the color to be more smooth. None of these samples you're seeing, none have had a blender tool used on them, or any, I don't use, Gamsol or anything like that. This color, the magenta, is way more vivid on the rough side. And I even see that the berry red and the plum are more vibrant on the right, which is the rough. Then going into the greens, let's see if I can get to the pine green, way more vibrant on the rough. So even the neons, I'm looking at the neons, check out the neon pink versus the neon pink over here, and I see a big difference in the vibrancy. I'm trying to look through the lens of the camera so that I can see what you are seeing. So my winner chicken dinner is the rough side of the Bristol Vellum, so that works really well for me. I then, of course, checked out the black and the white. You will see that the white is a big fail. Pretty much, there's only a few whites that really are vibrant. I use the Museum Aquarelle, the Caran d'Ache, the Derwent Drawing, and I do not use the Prismacolor white, though I just don't use Prismas at all. The only whites I use are the professional ones, and when I do just casual drawing, I may use the white as a blender, but I tend to have a blender pencil sitting around here, just ready for me to use. In fact, I have the colorless blender, which I'll talk about in a minute. So let's now, after all the swatching, I'm happy with the quality of the praying for my purposes. I believe that I will be able to host 10 to 15 people during the end season. I'm figuring my quantities of people based on the other crafting events here that I have attended, and I will have to limit how many people I can have. And it will be a longer session. When we do card making, it is about 2.5 hours. You do 3 cards. I want people to listen to me and watch me for about 30 minutes, do something special with pencils, either the prangs, starting out with the prangs, but eventually I want to explore the full range of my pencil collection, which is pretty extensive. I've got the full range of from the most economical now with these prangs all the way on up, because I started out with the professional pencils, and I have been filling in my middle tier pencils with a variety of options for people from 50 sets on up to the very large quantity sets. I don't know if I've told you guys in the previous episode, but I did buy the 520. There's two Brute Funer 520s. I bought this particular one. I picked the student level one because I want them for decoration in my craft room, which has windows all along two walls, and then there's, I'm staring at it now, maybe 2 feet above them all the way. I've done some decorating, but I want to intersperse these pencils. I bought the way they come is 2 drawers, and I think it's 6 to 10 pencil layers in a clear holder, and I plan on putting that holder up on shelving at some point around the top of my craft room. But the price. So before I get on to my samples here of my drawing experimentation with the prangs, I've bought a few things from Temu. I bought some clothes. I'm very happy with their clothes, and the pricing on the clothes is pretty good. Not really dirt cheap like some other categories of products. There's one brand of pencils that is selling so far, and that's Color. This is how you spell it. It's with a K. And they actually have, they compete with Brute Funer, and ironically, they sell Brute Funer. I did not know they did, but they do. So the 520 student grade Brute Funers, I paid $63. That same set there, I think now this week is like $79. And I used a coupon because I had placed my clothing order first. And with that, I got a $15 off coupon. So I think I paid $44 in total for that 520 set. So Temu is something to be keeping an eye on if you're into pencils. I did buy a 180, the black barrel colors that have the 3.3 millimeter lead like the Prang. I liked them because they were very legible, and I was trying to find something in a little bit better quality than Prang that would be something that you could read. I love the Castle Arts, but the price point of the Castle Arts is at 120 of them is significantly higher. It's like double what I paid for the Color 120 black barrels. But I had bought them. I bought the 180 red tin, and it came pretty battered because Temu, they ship everything in these orange bags. Those orange bags have no padding. They never put any padding in the bags. Here's a small bag from a very recent order that I saved so I could show you guys. That literally they just like wrap them up and they tape the heck out of them and ship them on their way, and my tin came pretty damaged. I went through the physical return process. Most of Temu's price points are so low that if you are displeased with what you buy, you give them a picture of it, you describe what you don't like about it, and boom, you get your refund. In this case, I had to ship them back, and I don't want broken pencils. I can't risk that for what my intent is for using them. So sure enough, I shipped them. They provided the shipping label. I chose USPS. I put them in a box myself because I had submitted a picture of the damage, and I didn't want to, be rude or uncaring. Put them back in the same packaging that they sent them to me in, and then have them come back completely mutilated or something. So I went ahead and put them in a box. I had an extra one that fit the pencil case. They arrived, and then last night they gave me the refund. So I'm happy to report that my Temu experiences, though few, have been successful, whether it be a return or I'm happy with the product. Okay, so I digressed. Now I'm going to go back to my sample project. I used 10 pencils in total. I like to do my blending with a set of colors. So for this image, the main image is greens, And I use these on the main image and the leaves. I have flowers, which I used these three. And then centers of the flowers and shading, which I used brown. You could have used gray, but I kind of wanted to go with the warmer tones. So instead of gray, I went with brown as my shadow. And I created a sheet that is my mock-up for a coloring. Like if I do a class and I have a half an hour set up, I want people to be able to practice. It's not their commitment for whatever they want to color that day, because the classes I will have will be like 3 to 4 hours, and after the half an hour I want them to relax, visit with each other, and or go in a corner wherever they want, color by themselves or color with a group of people, and just really get into kind of the spirit of de-stressing by coloring. So this is what I have come up with. You guys can let me know your thoughts on what you think of my layout. I figured when I do a class, I will probably write in here what the colors are, but leave the squares blank for the students to be able to fill them in with the colors as just getting familiar with what they look like for them on their paper. My very first, and we might be practicing different things, but this particular exercise was me simulating number one, basic coloring of somebody who likes to color and maybe understands a little bit about shading. And so this was just a really basic shaded. I only omitted brown I didn't use, and I didn't use the moonlight blue. So number one uses all but those two colors, and I really didn't do anything special. I will have at the end in the showcase close-up images of all three of these little cute frogs. Again, a free download by Ruby Charm. The second one I colored the way I would color something for a card. Wanting to get the vibrancy up and make it look really fun and very intense, I then used a technique I am a certified Copic colorist from years ago, and the technique of hiding any of your overlaps. So when you go over the lines with your alcohol markers, you can hide nicely by doing this blue outline effect, and I used that blue outline effect. I did burnish with, again, the Color Blender, which was an item that I bought in bulk. I think about a 5-pack of these from Temu, and they came in the same package as the tin of pencils. So I did yellow and brown in the centers. That's the only use of the brown on this one. And I did introduce the lime. Oh, I didn't use the neon green on the left frog, but I did try to brighten up and further intensify the colors by adding a layer of the neon green. I used a light source on the right frog. The left frog, I sort of hinted at a light source, leaving parts of him lighter. Pretty much the same areas that I left light in the right that you can really see on the left. I also left lighter but not white, because the secret to getting that depth and pop of color is to always have white. You have to have some white. That's just my secret weapon is white. So then of course you go as dark as you can go. If I wanted to go even further with this, I could have introduced the brown or maybe the gray, but I wanted to keep it pretty simple. Timing wise, the left frog was really fast. The right frog not so fast, but not as long as my third frog, which I did more of a realism coloring. When I do the more realism coloring, I do start with the shadows first, so I map out on my image what the shadows are going to be. I also used on him the neon a little bit, and I even see still some sky blue on his body to get more reflections of the colors that would be surrounding him. And then in the eyes, I just did a light sky blue on this eye. I added a little pink because I was going for some fun. So magenta around the perimeter and then sky blue. And this actually has sky blue and the moonlight blue. The flowers are colored. They go pretty deep with the plum. And then I used the moonlight blue mixed in with the sky blue. And I made sure to do a nice around the tenderly flowers. I went really dark for the dark, showing the shadows behind the flowers, and then did dark behind the frog. And the final thing I did not use a blender tool. When I do realism, I do not burnish. I want my picture to stay flat and matte, for lack of a better term. It's a matte finish that I'm after, not shiny glossy. Though for crafting images, I really like the shiny glossy. It really brings out, I mean, that frog on the right is just really vibrant. So the final thing I did, a tiny bit of erasing with my Mono 0 eraser. Here is my Mono 0. It's a teeny tiny tip, but I didn't have to do very much. And then I didn't even have to erase too much on the frog. I just left that be natural. And then I patted up, this is a sticky kneadable eraser, and I just lifted up, trying to go for more of an ethereal background. I did have more of the color up on either side, and I kind of pulled it away just by tapping and removing, and you can see that it actually picks up the pigment for you without even any pressure or any rubbing. You just like tap it and you can hear it stick and picking up the pigment. And that's my secret to how I do the nice soft backgrounds like that. So that is what I have done for praying. I feel that praying is going to work for my purposes. I, of course, now own 15 sets of them, so that's a good and a bad. The good is I have enough to get started with classes. The bad is I have no idea if I'm going to be able to replace those as people color and use the sets up. I do not know how I will replace them down the road, but I'm just still excited that I found something that I like that will get people excited about coloring, like I am excited about coloring. And at least here in this environment, which is a really large resort, there's going to be another fun event for people to do this winter. All right, so that is all I've got for today. I can't think, I will probably finish and then remember something I finished. I still owe you the metallics, but because this whole praying thing came up, that diverted my attention to something that I'm working on for a project that I needed to know if I could use these or not. So I needed to get all the way finished with my preliminary tests. The next video will likely be me popping in with my metallics experience. And I do have maybe 4 more sets of pencils waiting in the wings that as I get closer to class time in the fall, I will be working on these and doing some mock-ups and figuring out how to integrate them into a more a way to share them with people over time, over the winter. So I appreciate those of you who have been subscribing and watching my videos. I'm actually pretty tickled to see some of the counts. When a brand new website, I haven't had a brand new YouTube channel in I think my YouTube channel started so long ago that it already sort of had a presence when I decided to do camping, RVing, and crafting. So this is from scratch. I just want to see how it grows. So be sure to, if you like the content and what I have to offer, be sure to share with your friends and fellow colorists. Leave comments. I love to see what people have to say. What do you think of my choices today and my projects? You like, share, and subscribe. And thanks so much for watching.